Legends, welcome back. Fitness in Business podcast. John Salmon here. Today I'm joined by Craig Mendoza. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well, John. Thank you for having me.
Mate, thank you very much for jumping on the pod. Really appreciate your time. Um, Craig and I have known each other for more than a decade. I don't know exactly how many years, but I was in high school. Used to train at Snap Fitness at Umanto. We were just talking about that before we hit record, and it's really cool to see not the closed loop. It's still open because we're still growing and still here on Earth. But it's cool to see the loop come back around, and now we're talking about fitness, looking after yourself, and running and growing businesses. When I was a school kid training at the same gym as you, and we'd have little chats here and there, and it's cool to see people stick to the journey and look after themselves, which is what this podcast is all about. So very cool to see that, mate. Tell anyone listening a little bit about you, business. Make sure you plug it, and just a little bit of background, and then we'll dig into some questions.
Thanks, John. I'll be trying to be quick. I've been self-employed for 24 years. I had my own real estate company. I was in the military, in the army prior to that. So it was a really diverse, changing career. Actually, the funny thing is one of the biggest fears that I had moving from the military into a business like this was actually working with women because I'd only ever worked with men
Yeah,
in
yeah.
like quite an aggressive environment, in a good way, aggressive.
Mm.
But yeah, overcome their fears. But that's it. That's it in a nutshell. There's a lot more to the story than that. But I guess with what you do and the importance of it, probably what's helped me through every aspect of my life has been exercise.
Mm.
I was never an athlete, but love sport, preferably team sports.
Yeah.
And I think that when you are very disciplined with your exercise, it just helps you not obviously just physically and
Mm.
emotionally, but it just helps you in business and coping with stress and life and the very
Yeah.
importance of discipline.
100%, mate. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
big time. I completely agree. Thanks for giving us some background and context. It's I totally agree. The One of the most interesting things is seeing someone who doesn't exercise, doesn't look after themselves, eats like crap, just has all of that out of place and is trying to do all these things with their life, whether they are working for someone else, growing a business, it doesn't matter if they're putting in a lot of time and energy. If they don't have that energy to give, then something always gives. And I consistently see people that have routines, structures, systems in their life around training, nutrition, relationship management, and all of the things that I coach and talk about in this podcast. When people, and it's not saying I'm the man, I've got it all together, neither are you, but we are trying to get at when you start to manage these things and take them to the 1 and 10% betters than what they are now or what they were, those other things become easier and you become better. That's what our conversation is going to revolve around today. Mate,
yeah, I totally agree.
give us some background on just the exercise part of your life. How do you look after yourself from a physical perspective? Like, what's a week in the life of Craig training wise look like? Because you're a busy guy, run a
Yeah,
business, manage a team, got a family. So,
yeah. Look, mate, I work an average of 66 hours a week, but I train every day.
yeah.
So obviously, when I first met you, John,
Mm,
I was extremely fit and I was a lot younger. I'm almost 50. But every morning it starts with like I used to do a fasted cardio with more high intensity exercise, but I'm just getting too old. I now it's just walking the dog. I
yeah.
keep it really simple. I get up early before I get kids off to school and whatnot. It's walking the dog.
Yeah.
A lot of friends that I meet that are struggling with health and stuff, I say just start with that,
Mm,
and then of an evening it's off to the gym.
yeah.
Um, so 5 to 6 times a week, and that's not just for my physical exercise; it's also for my mental well-being.
Mm,
And your listeners, and I've watched some of the podcasts. You know, when you're a leader of a business, whether it's small, medium, micro, or big, I think it's one of the loneliest jobs in the world.
mm,
And the only people that can emphasize with you the stresses of running a business are business owners.
yeah.
So for me, um, that going to the gym is almost mental. So what do I do? So yeah, walking the dog in the morning, a good brekkie, good food, nutrition is so important for also your overall enthusiasm in what you do. Get
Mm,
to talk about
mm,
that a little bit more. And then I'm just, and you have to adjust your exercise as you get older, and you know that better than me. And old sporting injuries and things, but I still try and I do two out of those 5 to 6 sessions. Two are always high intensity cardio,
sure.
and the rest is either some running and weights. I was always big on functional training,
Mm,
um, which was a bit of a military background. I love functional training. I just not cross. I didn't ever get into the CrossFit side of things. For me, I just wasn't interested. But I definitely used a lot of those elements of functional training.
mm,
But I got to exercise, mate. And for me, if I start failing in business, relationships, and just feel like the wheels are falling off, and I sit down and reflect, what the hell's going on here? There's always one factor: my routine.
yeah.
Because I let the busyness, I got lazy, I put me last
Mm, mm,
to and I didn't do my exercise, and it actually affected every aspect of my life.
mm.
It's
Yeah,
I
wow.
I can't get over how important exercise is in business, not
Yeah,
just life. It affects your enthusiasm, motivation,
man.
um, yeah, your ability to absorb information, be the best version of yourself, and then it gives you that it gives you confidence too.
Yeah, big
Like,
time.
man, in your industry, like when you see your clients achieving their goals and losing weight or getting bigger, and
Yeah.
how that confidence. Okay, so for me, if I feel good about myself and where
Yeah.
I'm at with my physical health, my
Mm,
confidence just rubs off on all my customers and my team.
yeah, totally, man.
Yeah, and
100%.
enthusiasm, where I guess nutrition. Like I don't, if I ate crap food, I don't know how I would have the enthusiasm to make 100 phone calls a day and
Yeah.
talk to hundreds of people. Like sometimes on a weekend, when I finish work on a Saturday, I've had well over 100 face-to-face conversations.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that if I fueled my body with crap.
I agree, man. It's interesting. There's a few elements that you just touched on that I'd love to just cap, and the one of them was about nutrition. So
Mm.
I'm a big believer if you put shit in, you get shit out, and
Yep.
because I've done it, I've lived it. Like I've been in a place where I've eaten crappy food that spikes my blood sugar, that's high in terrible fats, that's fast food, that's easy to access, but easy to eat, but does not provide adequate nutrition for the long term. And when I'm talking long term, I mean more than half an hour. like,
Yeah.
I mean, like it feels good in the moment, and then an hour later, I'm a mess. Um, your digestion's off, your communication's off, you can't think clearly. And when you're doing it like people may not just call you as a real estate agent. They might call five people. So if you're not on, they like why would they pick you?
100%.
Um, yeah. And so there's 5 words with fitness and business that I'll talk people through. It's being fit, healthy, strong, and having an appearance and presence they're proud of. And you just nailed that one when you said like I turn up, meeting people, whether I've got an open home or you're pitching to someone. If you're walking into their home and you're not confident physically and you've eaten a crap meal and your gut feels off and your thinking's all off, like how are you actually going to progress your business or career if that's how you live?
Yep.
How's that going to happen?
Well,
So
it can't. If you're a race car, you don't go and put crap fuel on a F1 car, do you? It's not going to perform.
yeah,
And it's so if you want to be successful in business, you've got to feed yourself good food.
100%. Yeah, it's a really good point, man. And then on nutrition, like,
Mm.
do you have any? I'm probably more. I know you eat well because you've got great skin, you've got great energy, and you're fit. So you obviously eat well. Some of the things that would be probably more beneficial to talk about is what you don't do, like what you steer clear of, what you avoid, what you make sure that you exclude from the day to day, week to week, because I think they're the things that people that listen are looking for. Is like, well, got all these options, right? So what do I put the blinkers on? But that means what's all this stuff I have to not focus on? What do you do there, man?
Man, that's a really cool question. And I was going to say negativity, but you probably have to look at your sphere of influence.
Mm,
So if I reflect on different times of my life, where I went off the rails, I can think of them right now. It was the sphere of influence, who I hung around with the most. I think what's an
Mm.
old saying that you tend to adapt the same traits as the
Average of, yeah,
people that you met. Yeah, and it's man, that is so true. So for me, I try and avoid events and functions where I know there's going to be shit food, or and just in conversations, more yeah, and people I just don't want to be around.
yeah,
So I make excuses not to go to those things. I've been called antisocial, but then if you invite me to a bunch of people that are like-minded, have the same goals
yeah.
and value on things, mate, go to those things. So that's
Mm,
probably the best way I can answer that question.
mm.
We all got to go to weddings and we've all got to go to events and things, but definitely if there's social pressures,
Yeah,
it's so easy to fall into that trap, and that can be with
100%.
drinking as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
groups that just want to party hard all the time.
yeah.
So
That's
hope that
really
answers that.
good, man.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think it's could be wrong if, if you're listening and it's wrong. Drop it in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it's you're the average of the five people that you hang around,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's so true. And I I kind of adopt that approach for myself with different. There's a really cool analogy someone taught me a while ago for managing stress, anxiety states, and which sort of slowly became more apparent to me the longer I was doing frontline policing. It's like you get all these exposures and you have to have ways to mentally manage these exposures because internally we all try and normalize them, but the exposures are very real and they're very abnormal to see over and over. So anyway, it's the analogy of a ship and it's got shipping containers on the ship and each shipping container you break down into like compartmentalizations of your life, so family, business, your relationship, your finances, your work, whatever it is. And so the analogy is if one of them gets too full and it gets too heavy and because it's too much, the ship turns and takes on water, and then and then this one goes down and that one fills up and all of a sudden the ship starts sinking. And so the idea is to try and keep a balance of those shipping containers and empty all the crap out so that they stay balanced. And so I bring that back to that influence circle is really cool because I'm glad you said that because it kind of like if this mic was like one container, um, then it's like managing the influence in each container as well as your overall thing. It's a fascinating analogy because it sort of really makes you think about who you spend your time and energy with.
Definitely, and even more importantly, in the home. Um,
Yeah,
like if one of you say you're in a relationship and one of you has a goal regarding your health, extremely hard not be able to achieve that goal if the other person isn't on that journey with you. I've
yeah,
learned that.
big time.
I've learned that in relationships.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It took me a lot of years to figure it out, but yeah, it's very true.
yeah, man. Are you happy to elaborate on that? 'Cause I think that would be really valuable.
Yeah, most definitely. Long term relationship, had a child, and then that person became a smoker, and which I just despise completely. I'm an asthmatic as well.
Mm,
Um, Sort of ruined our relationship in a way because then I got heavily involved into sport, and I did a lot of competitive sport along running the business, and then we grew apart. Along with the smoking came really bad eating habits, so we had to like to have separate fridge
yeah, wow.
because I just couldn't do it. But then after like 10 years of that, I found myself getting really lazy, and then I ditched my fridge, and I started eating the crap, and I put on a lot of weight.
Yeah, wow.
And I remember then seeing photos and
Yeah,
going, "Oh man, who is this person?"
yeah,
And that was a really good kick in the bum to end that relationship and
yeah,
get back to myself, which was made me a better person, a better dad,
yeah,
and just overall just way happier.
yeah, wow.
And I've got a couple of friends that I check in on and whatnot, trying to only starting a health journey now
Mm,
to change
mm,
their life because they're getting having issues and
yeah,
bad results come back from doctors and
for
whatnot.
sure.
And unless their partner's on board to help, makes it extremely hard.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
wow.
if you can do it together, that's fantastic.
Yeah, man. That's I'm very fortunate that I've got that Mel and I are very aligned in that way. So we share a lot of common interests, which, to be fair, probably drew us together
Yeah,
and strengthened our relationship. And thanks for sharing that. That's really hard to see that. And what's interesting, there'll be people listening. That's why I asked. There'll be people listening to this who are in that situation, and they
yeah,
may be on either side of that,
yeah.
where they're sitting here thinking, "Man, that's me. That's my wife."
Mm.
Partner, and then they also might be thinking, "Wow, I'm that person." Like I'm having that realization as I'm listening to John and Craig talk that I'm the one dragging the family down. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's really good that you do ask honest questions like that because I totally agree with you. You can help someone else, and that might not even realize that
yeah,
they might be the person that's not helping their partner
for
achieve
sure.
achieve those goals. And as we all know, then the relationship's going to break down because
Yeah,
you're giving and taking not equally.
yeah, big time, big time, mate. We started an awesome topic before we hit record, and it
Yeah.
was to do with not being busy and not being productive. And I
Yeah.
love that because I'm a big believer in just like my coaching with my calendars, like system structure, get it full, get it running and stick to it. So
Mm.
how do you manage? I was going to say time, but I'm more and more talking about energy these days because I think calendars only got so much energy you can give. So how do you do that?
Man, that's an awesome question. I think so. The people that are around me, like my team and my
Yeah.
family, if I had a dollar for every time, every if I had a dollar for every time per week someone said to me, "I don't know how you do it," I'd have a lot of dollars. I'd
Hmm.
go on an overseas holiday. Sometimes I don't. I don't know. I think I love what I do. I hold myself accountable and responsible for everything that I do in my team. I'm very passionate about the
Mm,
culture of
mm,
my organization. Um, I believe a lot in enthusiasm and persistence and discipline. They almost fall under the same umbrella, in my opinion. So how do I manage the energy? Yeah, how do you? I guess I've learned only through 24 years of experience doing that. John I is when I'm with a client or a customer,
mm,
I give them 100% of my energy, and then when it's back into the office, it's with the team and the staff. Where I think I've failed a lot is more as a father, where I've come home or a partner, I've, I've left no energy for them.
mm, mm,
And I've reflected and gone, oh, mate, I was really crap last night. My son really wanted to show me some drawings and I was too tired.
mm, mm.
So then I just get a good kick up the bum to remind I need to leave some energy for them. Still not answering your question the best way, but how
No,
do I
you're
do
getting
it?
there. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, how do I
It's
do it?
multifaceted, man. It's
Just being,
yeah.
man, drop it. How do you do it? Drop the ego.
That's
Mate,
great.
drop your own ego.
Yeah.
And we are not invincible as well. And sometimes
Mm,
when you're a guy like yourself and other people in business who are
mm,
doing it on their own, you don't leave much time and energy left for you.
mm,
So
mm.
I guess what I would do. Well, actually, what I do is exercise. I'm giving back to me and filling my cup for the day by starting that walk with the dog,
Yeah, nice.
and then making sure that no matter how late it is, I get to that gym and I do my workout.
Mm, mm.
And sometimes if it's late, I'll change it, be adaptable. Like I'm not a arms leg guy, back day. Like obviously did that over the years, but it's
Yeah.
like it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to go in there and set myself a Tabata workout or a whatever it may be, and just smash that. And
Mm,
that's filling my cup again, which I'm sure you'd probably relate to.
yeah.
Because like I said before, when have the wheels fallen off? When I dropped the routine, and that gives me energy. So
Yeah.
I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, you have. You have. That's really good because a lot of people struggle with that, whether they're just combos that I have at the gym or in passing, or whether they're actually with clients and we're working through those things. A lot of people struggle with managing their energy. And I was on the phone talking to someone about this yesterday, and we were just discussing like stress to recovery ratios and
Mm,
how you can put a lot of, like, for example, we used to physically let out our stress, not you and I, but like back in the day where you would fight animals, you would fight other tribes, whatever it may be, for literally for survival. But now our survival is dollars, and a lot of our stress comes out of screens and phones and emails and texts. And
Mm,
so you sit and not move and absorb all of that stress. And so it's talk about energy drain. Like if you have 50 to 100 contact points a day that are little micro stresses, and they build up and they build up, and you don't have an outlet, I think
mm,
that's more of a drain than people say, I don't have the energy to exercise. I'm like, you don't understand how much better you'll feel if you start exercising.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So you did answer my question. It's good.
Okay. Cool.
In multiple shipping containers, you answered my question.
Yeah, multiple shipping containers.
Yeah,
Balance. Balance. Yeah.
it's good. It's good. Mate, talking about and I'm glad I asked you this on the phone. You had a tragedy in your life. Um, when was that? That was 10, 12,
Oh, yeah. It was
12.
2014.
Okay,
Yeah.
10 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Do you mind sharing a bit about that? Because that's so
Um,
impactful, mate. And
yeah. Look. Yeah. Well, it might help or resonate. So, in my business, my business partner was my brother, and he was a war veteran. Uh, sadly, he took his life, and it was 8:30 on a Saturday night. And but I made sure that I was at work, 8 o'clock on Monday morning. And I think it was a bit of my training that kicked in at the time. It was just
mm,
I had counsellors all lined up to come into the office and counsel the staff and make sure that the staff are all good, and then help organise the funeral and whatnot. But I worked every single day, and I didn't take one single day off for 2 years from that date. Um,
wow.
the yeah, the site I was good. I was absolutely so fit at that time. I threw everything into work and training and making sure everyone else was okay. I think I filled my cup because I did that training. If I
Mm,
didn't do that training and that discipline, I would have fallen apart. Did come back to bite me in the bum years later when I realised why was I so burnt out. I was like, I
mm.
don't get this, man. I look after myself. I'm in shape. What's this burnout? But that was just a lot of stuff that I put aside. But my
It's
brother was
almost
very
a way of responding to that trauma, right?
yeah, definitely. And I
Yeah.
think like going to guys like yourself, like first responders and whatnot. I don't know how you guys and girls do all that and how you cope, but there's a lot of you, and I take my hat off to you. But yeah, that tragedy was a tragedy, but it was also my brother was very into his health and fitness
Mm,
and diet and whatnot. He was always, and that spurred me on to train pretty hard too
for sure. For
and look
sure.
after himself because he was really good to himself like that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but I think again, if it wasn't for exercise, I don't think I'd be here. Exercise is about discipline
Mm,
and mental health, and that's why I really admire what you preach and practice and give to people because, mate, you're changing lives. And a lot of times, when you have been affected by suicide too. It's amazing how many people reach out to you that you don't even know,
mm,
going, "Hey man, I heard this happened. This happened to me too. I need to vent." And I always start. So I've got so much time for people in this space. I sit
mm,
down with them and I say, "Well, tell me about your life. What do you do? And I mean for work. What do you do?"
mm.
And I almost start every single conversation with like, "You don't have an exercise regime, and
Yep.
you're feeling depressed and sad. I repent. Let's just start with that."
Go
Oh,
walk the
great.
dog.
Oh, great. I'll get out and I'll run 10K straight away. I said, no, mate, no, just get up and start walking every day before you start the day.
Yeah.
And then come and chat to me in 2 months' time and we'll talk about some more fitness stuff. And I think that's been a great exercise is so good for not just business people working really busy hours and all mums and dads, everyone else. It's um, exercise is the key.
It's
Okay,
really good, man.
and if you don't, and like I was really lucky to have an awesome grandfather who was a real mentor. And I remember when he always used to say to us like, you boys, you've got to keep exercising, you got to keep moving your body, and you got to keep using your brain. He said because when you stop using those two things, you'll just shut down. So I've seen
That's
you get,
so simple, but so it's just it covers everything.
mate. It's
Yeah.
so true. It's a little bit off topic, but like only yesterday I had to put down a dog of 16 years,
Oh
and
wow.
she was a hunting dog, and it was amazing. She epitomised that. Like, you had to exercise this dog. If you didn't,
Mm.
it'd let you know, mate. We're going to
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect example of when the body finally went, oh, I just can't move anymore. Totally incontinent, can't move. Brain's
Mm.
failing me. And it was just amazing to watch her in 48 hours go from bad, but to like that. I think any of us that have had animals have
Yeah.
all experienced this. It's a perfect
Yeah.
example of what my grandfather always said to me: got to keep moving your body, and you have to keep using your brain. And when you stop, your body will just stop,
For sure.
just give up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. That's great, mate. Mate,
yeah.
talking about the sorry to hear about your dog. That's terrible.
Mate,
Like,
a lot's
and
happened this week, but it's
yeah,
okay.
I
I moved
know.
past that.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, I've got two dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. One left. One left.
Yeah, so
Still walk. Still
I
walking in the morning.
yeah, I'm still walking, mate.
Yeah. Good. Good. Mate, talking about like managing stress with exercise and probably overworking and things like that, playing catch up and all those things. How did you talked about burnout? You're not the first one to experience burnout. How did that show
Mm.
up for you and how did you manage it?
Oh, it was a combination of feeling really lethargic. I didn't really
Mm.
know, and I think as a typical male, like a lot of male just, I'll fix it. I can
Tough
fix
it
it.
out.
You may throw anything at me, mate. I'll fix it.
Yeah.
And so a combination of extreme lethargic,
Mm.
angry. I was turned into an old angry man. Um, they were probably the two main things
Yeah.
that I thought, okay, there's signs. So if I see that now in a friend of mine,
Mm.
I'll be a bit wary of that and ask some questions and check in on them. So yeah,
Yeah, good.
and being the person I am, like, and probably a bit like yourself, the inner beast was like, shit, you're feeling lethargic,
I'm
train
getting a
harder.
bit soft.
Hey, getting soft, like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
So punishing myself, and then getting injuries. Then I started like going to physio. I remember this physio. She said to me like, you tell them what you're doing.
Mm.
And she said, dude, you're not 20 anymore. Well, you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need to do this. You're not competing for anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that took a little while to understand, and
Mm.
now I'm really good with it. I'm doing the stretching, I'm doing the rehab. I'm not trying to smash out 5 HIIT sessions 5 days in a row
Yeah. Yeah.
and crazy stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah. It's a more manageable pace that keeps you where you need to be.
yeah, and probably getting back to what you said too, John. When I went through I'll call it my fatty stage at that burnout, I
Yeah.
started. I just started getting, fuck it. I'm just going to eat junk food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Went and like I said to you before, when you do that, you lose enthusiasm, confidence. You feel horrible, and um, you're not on. And
No.
the person on the other in front of you or on the other end of the phone or screen can just sense that. It's like a sixth sense, and they'll lose interest in you.
Yeah, big time. Big time. Mate, um talking about nutrition and energy and balance and managing imbalance is probably a better way to phrase it. Someone taught me that little phrase a while ago, which was a great one because it's you're running a business, you're never going to have absolute balance. And I shouldn't say never because some people do it.
Some
They
people are
outsource
great.
everything.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, some people are great at it, and I
Yeah.
admire them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But managing imbalance is really interesting. And when we talk about managing stress recovery, burnout, and all those things, I'm just such a big believer that exercise and nutrition have far more of an impact. And when you do it, like you and I do, you know, because you know the other way and you know the way you're doing now. And you're like, well, I can do, a 14 or 16-hour day if I need to
Mm,
and get up to it tomorrow at 5 a.m., go for a walk and do it again. And if I keep doing that for 7 days a week, I'll probably get burnt out, but I could do it for 4 or 5 and it'd probably be okay.
yeah.
But if I fill that day with a sedentary lifestyle and eating like crap, and hanging around people that suck, you can't do it. You can't do it.
Mm.
This doesn't happen.
Most definitely. Like I always have this little saying that on your own, like we individually we achieve nothing, but as a team we can achieve anything.
Mm,
And it's like someone said to me once, "Well, that's bullshit." What about a marathon runner? I said, "You don't think that an Olympic or a marathon runner, a successful marathon runner, doesn't have a team?
mm,
Of course, they have a team. Who helps them? Who feeds them? Who who
big time.
massages them? Who prepares them?
Yep.
Who they talk to when they're stressed?
Yeah.
There's
100%.
always a team." So I've found, I guess, even like friends I've made at the gym. In a way, I know like I train better when they're there.
Yep. Yep.
Even though we're not training as partners, I feed off their energy. And like I even remember when we first met as well. That happened.
Yeah.
With a lot of guys like going in there and went, wow, I want to do what that person's doing, and there was a good culture of people that were happy to share
For sure.
and
Yeah.
help. And if I saw you guys, the young guys, doing that, I was like, man, I'm getting feeding off that energy. So you can
Yeah.
imagine if you're hanging around really negative people,
The
having
opposite will occur.
negative conversations, and just sitting at the bar and drinking and eating shit all the time every weekend, and so you're going to end up the same.
Yeah.
Like an
100%.
unhealthy brain and unhealthy body.
Yes. Oh,
Mm.
big time, man. Big time. Mate, tell us. I don't think you touched on this before, but feel free to. I'd love to hear about the real estate office that you currently run, how it all came about. I know that pretty sure I remember having a conversation with you that the name just popped out of nowhere. And maybe I'm making this story up, but it was like you're maybe chatting with one of your kids and at
Yeah,
night time one day on the driveway. Is that right?
man, you have a ridiculous memory. That is like, oh man, I can't believe you remember that. Yeah, look, so 21 years in a franchise, which is very different. You do what you're told,
Mhm.
and you don't go out of those lines.
Yep.
And then that was an Australian owned company, which they were great. And then they got older and they retired and made a lot of money out of it.
Mm.
And they sold it to an American company, and they do business very differently. To give an example of how unsuccessful that was, we went from 250 offices to less than 70 in 2 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So I wanted, I love being in a team. I only ever want to be in a team, and I
Mm.
wanted to do things my way. I could see there was this what was happening here. My
Yeah.
business, my goals, my business plan was completely different, and I believe that if don't worry about money, if you look after people, money comes,
Yep.
and that's so I was very our values were, were not aligned at all. So
Mm.
yeah, I started my own company. Mod. I've always worked for myself, but got out of the franchise game and started my own independent agency, which is all built around our culture. We have an inclusive culture. We have a list of values, um, and I had to work really hard of changing an old culture
Mm.
and creating a new, which takes extreme courage and
Is that
leadership.
internally in you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So if you had been doing something the same way for 21 years, and you had
Yep.
like levels of management and all that stuff that you have in that corporate world, and you're going like, I've got a concrete new business plan where there is no levels of management, and including me, we are all on the same line,
Mm. Mm.
all the same team. We all have a role to play, which is equally important. I sacked my manager, which was really hard to do. I had to drop the ego. Couldn't have done it all without exercise before and after hours because the stress of all that.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and so I created Mod Realty, which is not just a real estate agency. Like the purpose of our business, our mission statement is the purpose of our business is to help people, and that's with housing. And we do a lot of charity work as well,
That's
which
amazing.
or pro bono. We just want to help people in our community that need it, and then yeah, because as you know, in all communities, there's all areas of help that go under the radar and need help. So it's good to be
Yeah.
in a small business where you can identify that and put
For
energy in.
sure.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how it started. And you're right about my son. So I had this big beast of an American corporation coming down on me, so much so sending people into my office to bully me into signing a contract I didn't want to sign. And I was running out of names. Every time I put a name into the ABN search, it was taken.
Yeah.
Um, and we were sitting on driveway one Friday night. I finished work late again, and I was extremely stressed. And my son said to me, who was 10 at the time, he said, why are you so stressed, Dad? And I said, I just can't come up with a name. And I got these guys going to put me out of business, and I'm really stressed. And I said, it just needs to be modern. And my son, who's into computer games, says, Mod Realty. And I looked at him and I went, shit. And I just, like, we were sitting on, the reason we were sitting on the driveway is because it was a nice night. I said, let's just look at the stars. And I just ran inside the house straight into the office.
ASIC search.
ASIC search. And like, I copyrighted it, everything. I did everything. I went nuts and worked feverishly. And
That's
secretly,
awesome.
secretly ran a business parallel to another business. And I'd say that's not a nasty thing. I had to do it,
Yeah.
or everyone was going to lose their job. Yeah, so it was an extreme amount of stress, and uh, yeah, that's how Mod Realty came about. And my
That's
son came up
awesome.
with that. It confuses the hell out of my competition, and it's a great story. It was a secret until now. It's not a secret anymore.
Mate,
But
if you need me to, I can chop it out.
no, I don't mind at all. But couldn't have done it without my family. And again, man, if I had have tried to do something like that,
Mm.
unhealthy, unfit, wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Would not have had the energy to do that.
Yeah. Oh, man, I agree. And you know what? It's not just, and I won't just talk about real estate because it's in the fitness industry. It's in my old career of policing. It's in the defense force that you used to serve. It's widespread, but it for me with my values, and I know we share not the same because no one's the same, but similar values with health, fitness, looking after yourself, how you treat your people around you. There's a lot of
Mm.
common ground there, and I'm a big believer in if someone's um, might get a message about this if they listen to the podcast, they don't agree, or they got the ego wall up, which a lot of people unfortunately do, and I've been there too. So I say that knowing, like, if you're listening to this and that's fired you up, good, because I used to have it too. So it's a good chance to drop the ego. But when
Mm.
you are overweight, unfit, don't look after yourself, people perceive you differently. And so if you're trying to launch a real estate agency in a city that you have lived in and worked in prior, right? If you were sloppy and you were big and you got a suit that doesn't button up properly and all those things, like, they're different levels. They're very different levels. So when you
Yeah,
step out of the car at someone's house, and the same as doing policing, same as PT, mate. There's PTs that I see online and in person, and they're not fit. They're not that healthy. They eat crap in the meal room. I'm like, what you doing?
it could offend some people what you're saying, and you know what? Again, you got to drop the ego. Presentation, and
Yeah,
I remember, like, I've been going to gyms for 20 to 24 years, and
yeah.
I've engaged the services of PTs to help me throughout that time.
Mm,
And when I'm looking at the PTs, I'm looking at how they train, what they do. Are they just sitting on their phone, not even watching their client? You see so much of that. And
yeah.
what do they look like? Because I want to look like you. So if I'm
If you're going to
overweight,
hire someone, for sure.
mate, 100%. It's
Yeah,
about presentation, first impressions. So even in the corporate world, and if this offends people, that's your
that's okay.
problem. But if you rock up and you look like a bag of shit, what message does that send to the client?
Yeah, big time, big time, mate. I phrased that to someone. I had not an argument, but a conversation because I've said similar things in Facebook posts and Instagram posts in the past and recently. But I'm sometimes somewhat careful with my conversation. Sorry, with my copy. But we're having a conversation with between two people that other people get to listen to, so we can say it. Um, it's if I see someone and I'm trying to engage their services and they're not in a state that I resonate with in my head, and this is for IT services, this is for CRMs, this is for anything that me as a person is engaging another business. If you can't look after yourself and you look lazy and you look all the things that come along with that lifestyle, how can you look after me? when I call or message, how responsive are you going to be? How are you going to deliver well if you can't even look after yourself in the most simple forms? That's my belief. And so I think, and that's a front stab, asshole stab you in the back, mate stab you in the front. They tell you what you need to hear. It's like, if that's you and you're in that position, it's such a chance to just go, you know what? I'm going to rip in and just go for a walk, like Craig said, or eat an apple instead of a Mars bar. Just little changes, and progress it.
Mm. Yeah, okay,
Anyway,
I
that's
agree.
my rant. I could talk about this for hours, mate.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of analogies, and you're absolutely right. Totally agree. Um,
Yeah, it's interesting, mate. The
but one thing that I do have to like just a bit on that, and you can chop this out if you want. I always find it interesting. We just had the Olympics, right? But
mm,
sometimes I do find it interesting when you see the athlete that's like a thoroughbred, run over to talk to their coach between the next throw or jump or whatever. And they look like they've never done a burpee in their life. Sometimes I just found that perplexing when I watched the Olympics. I know they're probably experts at what they do, of course, and their knowledge, but
that fascinates me.
I
Yeah,
just found it fascinating. I would be like, wow.
yeah. Oh, that fascinates me a lot. And you used to play in sporting teams. So did I in different sports and basketball and things like that. And but I had multiple basketball coaches, even at a representative level, that like they were really short and really big. And you just think, and looking back, you're like, wow. But their delivery was great and their skill level was high and all of those things. But
Yeah.
now as an adult, knowing what I know now and doing what I do with coaching, I'm just so selective with the people that I kind of let into, like you said, the circle or sphere of influence of like, that's just something that I value and the sort of people I like around me because I know that they have those levels of commitment to themselves. They're probably going to be high performers and their delivery will be amazing. Usually, not all the time.
Yeah. Well, if you get, buy through that exercise and nutrition, you gain confidence.
Mm,
And tell me, anyone challenge that the fact that if you're not feeling confident, you're not going to be good at what you do, whether
yeah,
it's relationships or business, because you're confident.
for
Yeah.
sure. 100%. Mate, how do you, talking about mod,
Yes.
with I'm always interested in these questions with people that manage teams and manage people that they employ. How do you manage? There's two things that I wanted to ask about probably, and you said culture's big,
Mm.
like culture, but also what we were talking about people are trying to grow, they're trying to establish themselves as agents or and things like that. How do you manage those people and make sure they're looking after themselves?
Oh, actually, talk about great timing of that question. I have a young lady in my team wanting to go into a different direction within the industry, which I'm all for.
Yeah.
And I didn't say what I wanted to say straight away. I thought, am I going to get in trouble here? But I said to her, can I give you some advice? And I hope you don't take offense to it. She goes, yeah, yeah, well, no. And I said, I'm only saying this because I care about you. I genuinely care about you. This is a young lady in her 20s addicted to caffeinated sugary drinks and doesn't
Mm.
eat food, just lives on those, you know.
Yeah.
I said, drop the caffeinated drinks. And she looked at me like, okay, am I in trouble? It's like, no, you're not in trouble. I'm saying this out of a place of care
Mm.
and longevity.
Yeah.
You don't eat brekkie, you don't eat lunch. You're just living off cans of those big mothers and all those
Mm.
type of stuff. And I said, and anyway, true to her form, she started the very next day. She went through all the headaches, all the withdrawals, swapped it for water. I did little baby steps with having bits of cordial. And
Yes. Yeah.
I haven't given her the pat on the back yet. We're in about nearly the fourth week. She doesn't know how much I'm watching, but
Mm.
I have watched her go through 2 weeks of withdrawals and feeling like fucking shit to she never going back.
That's
And
awesome.
what's been the byproduct? Her confidence and her enthusiasm and energy is through the roof, and everyone in the office is commenting on it.
Yeah. How
So
cool is that? That's
great timing. Yeah,
one change.
yeah, and I'm glad I've got the confidence now to have the guts to say that to someone else that I care about.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow, that's great.
but also a good thing for me as a lead, like as an employer and leader, was
Yeah.
that she has now shown me that she has the discipline and the drive and the persistence to achieve goals.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah.
100%. That's so cool. And so, what's the word I'm looking for? If you didn't have the confidence, which you just talked about gaining through exercise, through looking after yourself, through showing up with good character each day, you wouldn't have said that. And you've just changed the trajectory of her life.
Yeah, you've had positive impact.
Yeah.
It's not even because she's feeling healthy and got that energy back. It's in her work. She's now super productive. She's
Yeah.
actually even just in the last, like today's Wednesday, in the last 3 days, like I've challenged her to go to do things she's never done before and have some tough conversations, and she's just nailed it. And she may not have done that 4 weeks ago.
That's so cool,
Yeah.
man. And okay, for anyone that's still listening, if you got triggered in our earlier conversation
Mm.
with, with looking after yourself, like Craig, you wouldn't be able to have that conversation with her if you didn't look after yourself.
No
Because
way,
she
man.
would literally be like, "What are you talking about, mate? Have you seen your desk, your fridge? Like, you live like crap too." Like, sorry, I didn't mean to be disrespectful. I'm
No,
sure she
not at
doesn't
all.
live like crap, but
I
she's
get what you
pouring
mean.
these crappy drinks into her every
Yeah.
day.
Oh, 100%. You're bang on. If I was like, what's a leader? A leader leads by example, right? You do what you're going to say. You have integrity.
Yeah.
So exactly, if you're any leader, like, and we've all been in organisations where someone's doing these ones, but they're not doing themselves. Do you follow
Yes.
them?
No.
But then you might have some, an NCO or someone else that everyone follows and
Yeah.
does what they want because they display great leadership qualities.
Yeah. Just by doing it.
Yeah, so definitely, if I was sitting there with cans of Ice Dare and Red Bulls and chips and stuff, it,
Yeah.
would we have had the same outcome? Probably not.
No. And you wouldn't have the authority or confidence to have that conversation either, which
Well,
comes back to great leadership,
she probably would have gone home to her husband and said, "How's my boss telling me to drop the sugary drinks?"
Yeah. And here's a photo of him at the Christmas party, like
Yeah, yeah.
just smashing it. Yeah.
I guess that ties in with what you were talking about before and presentation in whatever field that it is.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, mate. And that is a really key point. I said this to someone a couple of weeks ago who just got started with my coaching program, and he was on the fence. It's really interesting talking to people, mate. Often, money isn't a barrier with coaching. It is often them making the decision to change because I will literally talk them through. We're going to be at times of discomfort. You're going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to ask you things that no one else asks you. Like, are you open to that? Are you willing to be coachable? Because if you're in this state and you're going to get over here, it's not like a week. It's going to take us months, and there's going to be a lot of hard choices that you're going to have to make. And I'm going to be that person that's always asking the questions you don't want to hear. And
Mm.
so it's like knowing that journey for her, and this isn't just targeting your employee. This is a very widespread issue. Like coming back to team leadership, I should say, not the sugary drink person. When you talk about team leadership, can
Mm.
that business for a leader, can that business run without you? Is a question that I asked this person, and the answer was no. And I'm like, well, you're not in a state where longevity looks like a viable option. So
Mm.
whether it's with me or you manage it yourself or you find another coaching company, just make the decision. Like just make the decision to change, because in that, what you just said was a really good example of you actually have the authority to say that, which is so cool, man. That's so
Mm.
cool. So
Oh, it's taken years of self development.
yeah.
Again, you got to, yeah, totally. I engage. Like, I've met a few different business coaches.
Mm,
Now, I engaged one for about 2.5 years, which was probably the best one. But where the wheels fell off there is exactly that, telling you how you should do things and how you should live your life or run your business, but actually not doing that themselves, like in displaying that in front of you. So you lose
yeah. Wow.
trust. You lose
Yeah.
trust, and you're like, um, and the relationship ends.
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, it's good. I have definitely been that employer that has said no, my business, John, couldn't run without me. Definitely, but it took years of self development and growth, prepared to get some coaching.
Mm,
Look at your health, look at yourself in really hard in the mirror. Um, to say, yeah, no, this business can run without me. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, I don't have to worry about anything. They'll even my family's looked after. But that,
it's great.
but you've got to have a good hard look at yourself and
Yep,
look at what's working, what's not working, what could I do better.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, man, and that's a really key point. I'll link back to health and fitness, is that so many people do have systems and structure in their business,
Mm,
and not with their health and fitness.
mm,
And it's like, what's the difference?
yep,
This thing needs consistency. So anything that needs to be done consistently in the business has a system or a structure so that people know how to follow it. It's like the same with us. You have to just create it and then do it. So
yeah. Not just another thing, a little bit different, but it's like when you've had to have surgery or you get sick, and then they say, "Oh, because you're so fit and healthy, your recovery will be so much shorter." And isn't that interesting?
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
like in Western medicine, it's very quick to just market and advertise tablets and pills and
yes,
uh, blockers and all that sort of stuff. But then when you're on the operating table or in serious health issue,
mm,
they say to the people that are fit and healthy and strong, how, oh, you're going to be fine and you're going to be great. And it happens. It's true. So
yep.
imagine if there was more marketing around that.
Oh man, hundred
I think
percent.
there'll be less sick people. Yeah.
Yeah, big time, big time, mate. We're all coming up on an hour. So in the
Oh,
interest
wow.
of I know it's crazy, man. It's crazy when you have a good chat how
Mm,
you how the time goes.
yep.
Is there anything that's popped up during our chat? I might have jumped in and gone to a different topic, and you're like, oh, I really love to throw that in there. Anything that's sort of an unclosed loop, so to speak.
You've definitely. I do reflection exercises every day. So I've got a lot to reflect on tonight. After I don't do it through training, I do it after training, and I'll
Nice.
write down what you're reflecting on. Um, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. It's been really good for me to have this discussion with you. I've learned a lot just in this hour talking with you as well, and it's also given me another kick in the bum and reminded me of the importance of health and fitness,
Mm,
and how it affects everything in your life,
yeah, 100%.
and just how important it is. So I think it's really great what you're doing. Um, yeah, so look after yourself.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
yeah,
Thanks for
just
your time. Thanks for coming on, mate. I really appreciate the time, and it's cool to see and credit back your way. Like we just said before, it was years, like it was more than a decade ago, where
mm,
like we were at the same gym, and I'm just
mm,
getting into it and looking at people like yourself years down the track, going, "Oh wow, like these people are still here looking after themselves, and you're still there, still training." And so it's cool to you sort of having like know that you have an influence on people is what I'm saying.
yep, most definitely. Well, thanks for having me, John. Greatly appreciated.
Thanks, mate. And if I haven't said it already, don't hang up the call yet until it uploads. But I'm going to stop.
Understood.
See you, mate.